We do have Ezra here on radio. How you doing today, Ez?
I'm pretty good. A little exhausted. Really early morning, but hey, we're here and we're gonna make it work with just two of us.
We're doing it again today. Week 11 preview and predictions. We have a couple of things going on today. We'll have one segment today, just one, not two like the past couple of weeks. For this week, we also have a couple of announcements. We have a couple new TikTok series coming out, so make sure you guys stay on the lookout for that. Coming up shortly this week. This will probably be dropping Friday, so maybe the TikTok will either drop Friday or Saturday, so make sure you guys stay on the alert for that. Also, the rankings is not updated this week, so we're going to skip over that. I lost the paper, so I have to go back and track it through what everybody said. Lots of fun. Hate doing that. So, yeah, Ez, you got anything else you want to say?
I was just gonna ask where'd everyone go? What happened?
Good question. Well, Max doesn't like to show up anymore. Shay is away this weekend, so that just left us two. Shay was kind of busy at this time, so he couldn't really hop on call. So it's okay. Stuff happens in people's lives, and but we've been the two sole people every week, Ez. So I appreciate that.
Make it work. Let's roll.
All right, let's start off. We start off with. Okay, well, that didn't want to work. Okay, Oscar's top 10 teams in the NFL right now. We're going to go down the list, the top 10 teams. Probably want to give a couple honorable mentions to a couple teams. Let's start off with probably an honorable mention to the Buccaneers, who I know didn't make this list. I think they're a very good team. Probably should be in this top 10, but just unfortunately very injured right now, and so is Atlanta. Not Atlanta, but Atlanta is another team that is probably like 11 or 12 on this list, who also didn't make it. So as anybody that you see that isn't on the list that you think should be on this list before giving anything away?
Last week they were getting a phone call for fraud alert, but they won last week, so I can't really say much. But the Minnesota Vikings are not on the top 10 list.
They are not. They are. What I've seen from them so far in the last couple of weeks has kind of scared me away to put them. They played two I think bottom 10 to 12 teams in the league, and they've looked awful up against them. So listen, they are 7-2. They have played really well through the first about 6 or 7 games, but they've started to fall off Minnesota. So that's why they're not on the top 10.
Then one last team.
Okay.
Looking at really the 9 and 10 spot here, record-wise, the LA Chargers.
Yeah, the Chargers are a really good football team. I just think the two teams I have ahead of them, I think are just more talented, honestly. Actually, that's a lie. I don't think both those teams are more talented. I definitely think number 10 team is more talented. Number 9, I think, has just been playing really good ball right now, and they're doing everything right, and their quarterback is really preparing them every week and doing a great job. So let's get into the top 10. Number 10 is the San Francisco 49ers. Let me move Ezra's little thing away here. Move it up top here. That's good. All right. Number 10 is the San Francisco 49ers. Listen, they have been a really good football, they have been a really good football team this year. They haven't gotten a lot of credit for it because they've been banged up a lot, and Christian McCaffrey out most of the season so far. That really hurts the 49ers, and I think their ability to run their entire offense, right? You could lose Debo and you could lose Samuel, but the engine that makes this offense go is Christian McCaffrey. So losing him so far is why the Niners are at number 10. Do I think they can get back up there? I'm not sure, because this team, it feels like I watch them and there's something off about this Niners team. I don't know what it is, and it's mostly the same guys from last year. You have a couple different guys that aren't on the team anymore, but I think for the most part, this 49ers team is the exact same, and I feel like there's something off about them. Ezra, what do you got about the Niners?
You touched on it already with McCaffrey, but you said it last week, and I bet against them, which I should not have, in a nail-biter of a game against Tampa, but they win with Christian McCaffrey on the football field, period. And he's back on the football field. He's healthy and playing, so they deserve the 10 spot for sure. I would agree. It is a little, I guess, weird to see the brand of football, the play, whatever it may be specifically, it's different from last year's Niner team, and maybe we're just comparing the two teams, that this year they're not as good, but it's something's off. Not right.
Yeah, I know that their secondary, honestly, I think has gotten, till Hufanga out as well, really hurts them, the Niners. But I think this team honestly got better in the secondary, right? Their secondary last year was them with their interior offensive line was kind of weak. They weren't very strong there. That's where the Niners' weak spot has always kind of been. But I think for the most part, like this Niners team is pretty much the same, and I think they've actually improved their secondary. With unfortunately, Hufanga's out, but until he comes back, I think this Niners team is pretty good. But right now they're at number 10 just for those reasons. We move on to number 9. We move on to number 9, the Arizona Cardinals. The first person I want to touch on before I touch on Kyler Murray is Jonathan Gannon. I think he's done from this season to last season. I think I said last year that the Arizona Cardinals, like one of my hot takes was they were going to go 0-17 because I thought this roster was horrifically bad and Kyler Murray was out the beginning of the year. And I said all these things and I was like, where does Arizona even stand when you're that bad? Like their roster, you go and look up and down it last year. They were so awful. They were so poor. They had nobody out there, and yet they were competing in every game. Because this is what the Arizona Cardinals do. Like they're just a really good grindy football team that does a lot of good things right. And I think it starts at the top with Jonathan Gannon. I think he comes and brings these guys prepared every single week. Now, I think the reason why they're at number 9 and not higher is because of the lack of talent. The only other team, the Niners, and there's probably teams on this list, honestly, like Atlanta, like Minnesota, who are more talented than the Arizona Cardinals, but the Arizona Cardinals are very well coached. Kyler Murray is probably the head of where all their successes really came off of this year. Kyler Murray has done an exceptional job throwing and running the football, getting the ball to playmakers in space. He carved up the Jets defense last week. He's done an incredible job this season. And this Arizona Cardinals team, probably a bottom 15 roster. Like if I had to go through rosters, I'm like, this team is not very talented. You don't have a lot of guys out there that sit there and pop off on the charts. They don't have a lot of stars, but you know what they do? They play really well together. This pass rush group, like if you look at the pass rush group, you probably couldn't name anybody really, on this pass rush group, but the Arizona Cardinals are a very well coached and Kyler Murray dependent team. That's why they're at number 9. As
you said it with the roster, I mean, their wide receiver 1's a rookie, and he's the most talented rookie wide receiver in my opinion. So no hate to Marv. Michael Wilson, wide receiver 2. Thankfully, Trey McBride's having a great year, getting a ton of targets. And if you look at their record, they're 6-4. They're leading a division that's weak record-wise, but 2 of the teams so far in the top 10. Very talented, very tough division to begin with. But their 4 losses are to the Bills, the Lions, the Commanders, and the Packers. Now, the Commanders and the Packers' losses are both blowouts. They got shit on. But both teams are ahead of them in this ranking, and I won't spoil where or how high, but they're on a 4-game win streak. They look very good. And I do want to touch on Kyler Murray. I said I was going to say it, so I'm going to say it. He currently is playing like the insomnia cookie eating, cod playing, smaller, dark skinned version of Josh Allen. And Josh Allen's in talks for MVP.
Ezra, I'm like 99% sure that's going to be made a TikTok clip now because you texted me that, but it's funny for you to just say that out loud now. That is hilarious.
But if you watch the kid play, it's a similar play style. Obviously, he's not athletically gifted and 6'4", and Josh Allen. I mean, his arm's not a rocket, but he's playing in a similar style, I would say.
As I love the point that you brought up, and what are their 4 losses are. Their 4 losses are to the 4 out of 5 best teams in the NFC. Commanders, Lions, Packers. Who's the other team?
Hold on.
Commanders, Lions, Packers.
Bills, AFC.
They
play Buffalo.
Oh, Buffalo. I'm sorry. Those guys are all ahead of the Arizona Cardinals. Like, these are some of the top teams that they're losing to, and they're beating the bad teams bad. Like, they're whooping their ass. They whooped the Jets' ass last week. It was not even close. So the Cardinals are doing a really good job, and I'm very surprised. All right, we move on to number 8. Jesus, I don't understand. The Commanders are number 8. Listen, I think the Commanders have limitations on where they can go, right? But I think what brings the Commanders to why they're so good is Jaden Daniels and what he's able to do with this offense. They've done a really good job of hiding his flaws right now as a rookie, right? They're not asking him to go out there and throw the ball 70,000 times like they asked Caleb Williams to, right? They're running the ball. They're giving him screens. They're giving him layups to hit. And then when you need to hit the big boy throws, the deep ones down the field, he's done a really good job of that as well, right? I know his deep conversion rate hasn't been very good, but that's okay. I think he's done a really good job with getting the ball to Terry and taking those deep shots when possible, right? They don't take many of them, but when he does, I think he's done a pretty good job of hitting them. But this Commanders team is they have a lot of holes. I think just right now, they're trying to get a little too far ahead, right? I don't know what they gave up exactly for Marshawn Lattimore, but Marshawn Lattimore is a very good player. But that's like a win now move, right? Your roster is not built to win now. Maybe next year you can go out there and compete for to get to the Super Bowl, but you're probably about 2 to 3 years away from actually trying to win a Super Bowl, right? You still need a number 2 wide receiver. You still need to shore up the offensive line. You still need to get some corners. I think your linebacker play is subpar. But right, Bobby Wagner's a very good linebacker. I'm sorry. It's kind of rude to him, but they've still been just about average to above average, right? So I think the Vikings, the Commanders are still a whiles away, but they're very young, and Jaden Daniels is developing as.
Yeah, I mean, you said with Jaden Daniels on the deep ball in the beginning of the year, it was always not throwing it, like Terry McLaurin's not getting used. What the heck's going on? And then he finally started uncorking it. Obviously, the game winner against the Bears was huge. It wasn't Terry McLaurin. But for him to be able to keep that play alive and do what he did, and then be able to put the ball however far it needed to go. But yeah, for this year, I mean, just on the list, to begin with, their division, I mean, they have the Eagles, so there's problem number 1 to make the Super Bowl, Philly. Then you look over the NFC North. You have 3 teams that I think could beat Washington in the Lions, Packers, and the Vikings. I would put up there. I think that'd be a very good game. But next year, I wouldn't put it out of the picture. It's just a tough go at the top 3 or 4 teams in the NFC.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think they're off that bridge, and I think the next team too is also off that bridge. So that's what I think about the Commanders. Number 7, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Listen, I think this team is one of the teams I'm very high on, right? I have them at number 7 on my list. They're a very good football team, and they do a lot of things right? They do the little things right every week to win them football games. They don't turn the ball over. They run the ball. They get after the quarterback, and they're going to stop the run. That's why they have been really well over the past couple of years. That's why they're going to be in the playoffs this year. That's why they were in the playoffs last year, even at awful quarterback play. Now they're getting, I think, top 10 to 12 quarterback play, and not just that, they're also getting really good run game. Like their run game is a legit run game, and they have a deep threat, right? They have everything they need. They just need that, if Russell Wilson can continue to play at this level, if he could just step it up just a little bit. Like the Steelers are, I think, a half decent wide receiver number 2, which they actually picked one up in Mike Williams. So we'll see how that really turns out. He had his touchdown last week.
Huge touchdown.
But that was his only catch though. So like we didn't really see much of Mike Williams. We'll see.
And being picked up that late in the week, it was a midweek thing. He's not going to have much practice, not much understanding.
No, I know he was on a limited role, but I want to see what else he could do. But I'm just saying, I think the Steelers, they do a very good job at the little things, right? They don't turn the ball over. They get after the quarterback, and they make plays. They make tackles. They do a really good job at the little things. This is why the Pittsburgh Steelers are one of the top teams in the league. The reason why they're not up there is I think their lack of not explosiveness, because I think their offense is very much run the ball and throw the ball deep to George Pickens. But with Russell Wilson, they became more dynamic. As what do you got on the Steelers?
Well, Russell Wilson hard count to win the Washington game was elite. That was great to see. I did take Washington. I was high on Washington. It was tough for me knowing that my picks were wrong, obviously, but no, they played well. They're 7-2, and I mean, you could say it's a bad 7-2 team. The only other 7-2 teams in Minnesota, but I don't know. I feel like they've won when it matters, and their 2 losses are to 2 teams they probably should not have lost to. 2 very close games.
No, they're 9-0 right now. If Justin Fields starts every game, they're 9-0. They don't lose, right? I think
if Russ or Justin Fields starts every game.
Russ. If Russ starts every game, they're 9-0.
Because they lose a 3-point game in Indy and then a 3-point game home against the Cowboys on. I think that was Sunday night.
Exactly, and Justin Fields played those games. So if Russ plays that Cowboys game, they definitely win. And so with the Colts. So, like I said, I think Russ has really excelled this team.
I am curious to see. I know Shea talked about it with the Bears, but the Steelers' upcoming schedule is not easy either. They're obviously they have the Ravens this week. Then they're in Cleveland. Whatever, great. Then they're in Cincy, or probably one of the most explosive offenses in the league. The Browns again, whatever. Then they're in Philly. They're in Baltimore. They host Kansas City, and they play Cincinnati the last week of the year.
Yeah, they have a tough schedule, man. So it's not going to be easy.
7-2 could go downhill quick. It's Mike Tomlin. Obviously, they'll end the season with a winning record somehow, some way, and they're putting themselves in a great spot to do so. But it could be a very, very good team that goes, 1, 2, 3.
Have 9 to 11 wins. Somewhere
even
in that
range. A 9-10 win team that's very, very good.
Yeah, they're going to be a good team. That's going to make the playoffs, and they're going to be a team you kind of don't want to face because they do everything right. All right, number 6, the Green Bay Packers. I wish Shea was here right now to talk about them, but he is not. Listen, I think the Green Bay Packers are a very good football team. They do a lot of things right. Let's talk about the things they do right. Jordan Love throws a lot of touchdowns. He throws a lot of risky balls, and he throws a lot of He throws a lot of footballs that could be caught sometimes. In the sense of the fact. Jesus, what am I? I don't even know what I'm saying is. What I'm trying to say is Jordan Love throws some balls that puts into harm's way, turns the ball over a couple times when he probably shouldn't have. He makes some decisions that, he tries to throw some stuff that he probably can't.
But he's not afraid to sling it.
He is not. He is not. This team's still very young with wide receivers that I don't trust, but Shea might have a different little perspective on it. I don't trust these receivers. I still think they need a dynamic threat, like all these other teams definitely have. At least somebody, right? At least they have some type of go-to guy. The rest of these teams, whether it's at running back, but their running back Josh Jacobs does an incredible job. Their offensive line's done a pretty good job as well. This defense with Xavier McKinney has gotten turnovers, and that's been a really good key to success for the Green Bay Packers, right? They've caused a lot of interceptions this year. They've done a good job controlling the game. I think the only game they really couldn't control was the Lions, right? They got out of hand. Jordan Love wasn't right. So when Jordan Love is right and healthy, I want to see them play the Lions again, right? But I think the Green Bay Packers are an extraordinary football team.
And that Lions game is coming in 1, 2, 3 weeks from this upcoming week. So that'd be week 14?
Yes.
12, 13, 14, yeah. Week 14, we have the Packers in Detroit to play the Lions. Looks like it'll be a primetime game. Should be fantastic. But yeah, I mean, their wide receivers, it's kind of like a young squad of a bunch of talent, but you don't know who's going to be the guy that day, right? So it could be a Jaden Reed day, it could be a Romeo Dobbs day, even a Christian Watson. Or hell, they have Dontavian Wicks as a wide receiver 4 on the depth chart, which I don't know why, or whatever it may be. And then their tight ends, Tucker Kraft, who's had a great year. Yeah. Josh Jacobs single-handedly has ran the ball all over everybody. I mean, his worst game is. Hold on.
Yeah, I mean the Packers are very much wide receiver by committee, right? I think that's a great way to put it.
And then defensively, you said it. They've played well. They've done things right that they need to do. 6-3 record. I mean, a loss week 1 to Philly. Good game there. A 2-point loss to Minnesota in Minnesota when the Minnesota Vikings were red hot. And then a tough loss last week to the Lions.
Yeah. So I think the Packers have done an incredible job this season. All right, we move on. Philadelphia Eagles. A lot to talk about with this team, but we'll start at the helm. Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts is having a much better season right now. And I think that's equated to Saquon Barkley, right? Saquon Barkley has given less stress. This is like, I think, a great way to put Philly. Philly is a more talented Pittsburgh Steelers, right, without the pass rush, right? Think about it. They want to run the ball. They want to have explosive plays to A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, off play action and off all this stuff they can do. And they also have a mobile quarterback, right? Jalen Hurts, who's able to get outside the pocket and make plays with his leg. This is I think, much more talented Pittsburgh Steelers team. The reason, that's why they're probably ahead of Steelers right now. I think their coaching, of course, brings them down, but they got some good guys around them in Kellen Moore and Vic Fangio. So they have some good coaches around them to surround Nick Sirianni. So to kind of like hide what he's really bad at, which is coaching. That's great. But this Eagles team is a very good football team. They're loads of talent. It starts with Saquon Barkley and it ends with Saquon Barkley, right? He is the heart of this football team, right? If you put DeAndre Swift back there, this team is not 8-2, and I don't think it's close. They're probably about a 4 to 5 win football team right now. They're not the same team without Saquon Barkley. This is the heart of their football team. They want to run the ball with Hurts and Barkley. They want to get the run game going, and once they are able to, then it just opens up Pandora's box of what they can do. So I think the Philadelphia Eagles are a very high, reluctant Saquon Barkley dependency, but that's okay because of just how much talent's on this football team is. Did we lose Ezra?
What about Cooper DB?
What?
I want to touch on the white boy DB.
Okay, go right ahead.
Spot in Philly. I saw it on Instagram. I don't remember what shirt they had. Matching shirts coming in, I think, to the facility today. It might have been yesterday, but no, they've been dynamic offensively, defensively. They've looked very good. It sucks to see what Saquon's doing as a Giants fan. We knew it would happen no matter where he went, and I mean, you got to be happy for the guy. He should be running back 1. I know Derrick Henry's spectacular as well, but in my opinion, Derrick Henry might be the only other running back, maybe Christian McCaffrey. If McCaffrey was healthy all year, that could be in Saquon's spot to have the Eagles where they are right now with Saquon. Offensively, Jalen Hurts has looked very good. Now you're up to 2 TikTok clips with your hate for the Eagles head coaching, but great squad in Philly.
Yeah, they're a good team, man.
Overall, their schedule, I mean, they do have to go to Baltimore, and they host the Steelers. But overall, they don't have that tough of a schedule coming up either.
Yeah, they don't. All right, we move on here to number 4, which is the Detroit Lions. Listen, the Lions do an incredible amount of things right. It'd be hard to honestly pick one thing they really do wrong. That's so many things they do right? This Lions football team is good, and it starts with, honestly, their offensive line. They have the number 1, I think, ranked offensive line in the league. They do a great job of protecting Jared Goff and be able to run the ball, right? They hand it off to Gibbs, and they also hand it off to Montgomery. Thank you, Ezra. I blanked there. But they do, both of those two guys do a really good job of controlling the line of scrimmage, making guys miss. Gibbs is more the guy making guys miss, while Montgomery is more of the run you over type back, which is we haven't seen this type of football in a while where it's 2 hard, dynamic guys that are really good. Both these guys get even amount of carries. Right now, I think they have the same amount on the year, but we laughed at Gibbs and the way, he got drafted, but that's a whole nother point. I think this Lions team is it starts with their offensive line and it works their way down, right? Then it trickles to Jared Goff and the play action and off that. He's just so good at that. Right, he's so good at being able to draw those linebackers up because the Lions run the ball so much, and that's what they want to do. Right, and then you have Amon St. Brown, and you have Jameson Williams on the outside. Of course, he's been suspended, but that's a different story. Right, and this defense does a good job each and every week of making plays, creating turnovers. I think this Lions team is right now. They were able to win a game with Jared Goff throwing 5 picks. So that just shows to show you the toughness of this Lions team.
Yeah, they never gave up in that game. I thought it'd be a blowout. You saw 5 interceptions, really ugly numbers, and they came all the way back and just put it to them. Defensively, they've looked really good. Brian Branch has played spectacular. Carlton Davis, good year as well. Alec Anzalone surprisingly played well, continuing to play well. Their kicker, Jake Bates, love this kid, love the story. I am surprised they are only at 4. I know it's obvious the 3 teams ahead of them. But I'm curious on why.
Well, why those other 4 teams ahead of them? Because their quarterback's better. They're probably the Lions are probably a little bit more talented, especially than the Bills, I think, that are ahead of him. But Josh Allen's just he's in his own class. These next 3 guys are in their own class, and we'll get into number 3 right now, which is the Buffalo Bills. Listen, why are the Buffalo Bills number 3 and the Lions aren't number 4? Well, why the Lions 3 and the Bills aren't 4? Because Josh Allen is a freak. He's a freak. I think he's the best quarterback in the league right now. He's doing things that are just insane. I watch this guy ton. He's so mobile. The plays he can make outside and inside of the pocket are great. He's so much more of a polished football player than even he was 2 years ago, right? When he lost to the Kansas City Chiefs in that playoff game. He's so much more of a polished football player. Joe Brady and this offense has done such an incredible job. And it starts with the run game, right? They've been able to run the ball. We go back last year, at the beginning of last year, they fired their offensive coordinator because they couldn't run the ball, right? They didn't want to run the ball. They are one of these Bengals that, hey, listen, we're not into running the ball. Let's go throw it a bunch, right? The Bills have said, nah, screw that. Let's go run the ball. Let's go help Josh Allen out. Let's make the game even easier for this guy. And they've made it easier. They've made it better. This offense is run smoother, right? The one thing I will say is they have not a dynamic threat yet. And we're still trying to see what Amari Cooper is on the Bills. But this Bills team has done an incredible job. And their defense is playing well, even though losing a couple pieces in that back half of the defense.
And that defense had 4 turnovers against Joe Flacco, 3 interceptions, a forced fumble. And
Joe Flacco's bad, though.
But you look at the Indy game, and coming into the game, Josh Allen had 2 interceptions all season. Threw 2 in that game. Shocking, in my opinion, but hey, only 4 interceptions all season. He's played spectacular. He can do it with his legs. He can do it with his arms. I made the comment about Kyler earlier. This is the guy that Kyler should be trying to play like. There's a guy you want to be looking up to.
He should not be trying to play like Josh Allen. If he tries to play like Josh Allen, he's going to end up like Tua throwing up gang signs, okay?
All right. Maybe a little less lowering his shoulder because he's not 6.
He needs to slog.
And he's not built like a running back. But overall, Buffalo Bills are a force to be reckoned with. I'm going to be very, very curious come the end of this season who matches up with Kansas City, who can beat or who will be going to the Super Bowl for the AFC. I mean, you have 3 teams that are very, very good.
Yeah, let's get into that second team right now, the Baltimore Ravens. Why are they number 2? Because they've just looked very well, right? I think Lamar's ability so far, he's shown me this year to come back and win games on the road. I think is not on the road. I'm sorry, win games from behind. I've been very impressive from Lamar Jackson. This defense is doing a solid job for the most part. I think this defense is definitely taking a step back from last year. I think losing Mike to Seattle was huge, but I still think this defense is doing a very incredible job, even though they lost Mike. Yet, I think their offense has become just so dynamic with Derrick Henry, right? Teams are keying in on the run so hard because they're going to have both those guys probably combined for about 3,000 yards on the ground, which is insane to me, right? So I think there's a lot of reason to be excited as a Baltimore Ravens fan, right? Zay Flowers definitely helps out. You're hoping that, I'm very sorry. Deontay Johnson plays even better, right? You're hoping that he comes in and steps up to be a good wide receiver too. And Zay Flowers has done okay in these games.
One thing on Deontay Johnson, I was really surprised. I think he only played 4 offensive snaps against the Bengals.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was a very odd number, and it might be practice related. It might just be because they only keep Zay Flowers and Rashad Bateman, and then they have, 2 tight ends or 2 running backs or whatever it may be, because their offense is so dynamic and they can do that, and they don't need 3 receivers on the field.
They have 3 tight ends probably on the active roster.
They do.
Yeah.
But I'm going to say it was about 2 days ago, and this is about Lamar. So 2 days ago, Pat McAfee, shout out Pat, he had Aaron Rodgers on the show, and the whole conversation was about Jaden Daniels and Bo Nix and Caleb Williams in the sense of, you're a rookie quarterback, essentially thrown into the fire. You got to start right away. How do you go from your rookie year to learn from somebody if you don't have that somebody in your organization already? How do you learn from somebody to excel your sophomore season and to be a starting quarterback of the future? And because Aaron went on and on about how the quarterback community, you can reach out, whatever, but now there's 17, 18 games, there's film, there's numbers, there's stats, there's everything about you. So you, as a quarterback, have to adapt, you have to adjust, you have to make changes and change your game based on what you did well and what you didn't do well your rookie year.
Yeah.
But then he brought up Lamar, and Aaron was floored, and Pat obviously helped him out with it, but it was in the sense of Lamar, okay, couldn't play well under pressure, send the blitz, you'll be fine. Now that don't work. Then it's, okay, I think it was just played too high, man coverage, still don't work. So Lamar has been able to adjust his game and fill his own weaknesses every single year so dynamically to the point where every single season he's in the MVP talk consistently.
Yeah.
And it's easy to see his style of play continue to develop into the top, 3 quarterback that he is right now.
First couple of weeks I was very critical of Lamar Jackson. I thought he wasn't doing a very good job of a thrower of the football, but as the years gone on, he's gotten better. So I do have to give credit to Lamar Jackson. He's been an incredible quarterback and MVP candidate this year. He's just really done a really good job. All right, we move on to number 1, the Kansas City Chiefs. Of course, they're number 1. Who else would be number 1, right? This team's 9-0. They're doing everything right on defensively. That's why they're number 1, right? If they had an average defense, they'd probably have like 4 to 5 wins, right? They wouldn't be very good. But Patrick Mahomes has done enough every game, every week to get them to the victory. And so is the offense, right? I think this offense is now going to start to click, and that's the problem because they're 9-0, and now this offense is going to start to click. Jesus, help us. But, right, this Kansas City Chiefs team is rolling. I don't see why they're not the best team in the league, and I don't see why they don't win the Super Bowl this year. This team, it's going to be very hard to stop them. We're going to talk about the game this week coming up. I think it's a great football game between these two teams, but the Kansas City Chiefs are one of these teams that you want to look at and just say how each and every week you can come out away and win a football game is incredible. It really is. And I know everybody's going to say, oh, the refs are in their pocket, whatever. Man, when have the Chiefs gotten blown out? It doesn't happen because they're that good, right? The Chiefs are that good where every single game, they're in it, right? You want to beat the Chiefs? Go blow them out. Make sure the refs don't get in the game, right? If you want to go beat the Chiefs, go beat the dog shit out of them. And no team's ever going to do that because they have Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, and a great defense. And Travis Kelce, of course, right? This is why the Chiefs are the number 1 team in the league.
Yep. And something you didn't mention, which is surprising, but not surprising, they've adapted to injury by far better than any other team. You have Rashid Rice, gone. Your running back, Pacheco, dog, gone. Now Kareem Hunt stepped in. You have DeAndre Hopkins, Xavier Worthy, Juju Smith-Schuster, Hollywood Brown, nope, IR. And then this week, they have to figure out how to play without Harrison Butker, who's on IR now too. I guarantee you it won't matter. But we will see. It's going to be a spectacular game this week against the Bills. More on that to come, obviously. And one more thing about Pat. It might have been in the same episode or a day later, but he mentioned, I think, out of the entire Kansas City Chiefs staff, there are 4 to 5 Hall of Famers.
Yeah.
Not players, coaches, and coordinators.
Yeah, I mean, they have a lot of good guys. They have a lot of good pieces on the coaching staff.
The talent's there on the field, offensively, defensively, special teams. I mean, they blocked a field goal to beat the Broncos, who had them on the ropes. But play calling from on the sidelines, up in the boxes, you name it, they're talented all around. Even their GM. I mean,
yeah, their pro personnel department
they can't do anything wrong.
Yeah, their pro personnel department has done an incredible job of bringing the right guys in off injuries. As that took up way too much time than it should have, but it's okay. We're going to fly through these games. You ready?
Yep.
All right, let's start off with, okay, that's number 1. All right, number 1 is Green Bay and Chicago. Listen, I'm not going to touch too much on this game. Green Bay's going to win. I want to talk about the Chicago Bears and what's going on in Chicago. I think Chicago is becoming... fuck it, I'm going to say it. Right, I think the Chicago Bears will probably either lose all their games, rest of the games, or win one of them. They are a dysfunctional organization that's going to ruin Caleb Williams until Mike Eberflus gets out of there. They're a dysfunctional team, and they need somebody with stability at head coach, or they're going to ruin this kid. You could see the writing on the walls. It's everywhere. There's too much talent on this offense to be struggling like this. There's pieces everywhere. I know Bears fans are going to say, well, they need a left-right tackle. They need every offensive lineman. Yeah, I've seen also plays where Caleb Williams stands in a clean pocket and it doesn't throw the damn ball. So I don't want to sit here and say that this is not their offensive line. Their offensive line can hold up. I think a lot of people just want to blame the offensive line. I really do. But what I'm going to say is I think the Green Bay Packers will win this week. They're going to beat the Bears. The Bears need to figure shit out.
Yeah, we're both taking the Packers here. It's not really going to be... I don't even think it'll be a good game or a close game. I took Bears last week. I thought they'd be able to get it done against New England, and they put up 3 points.
Yeah, no,
They have not scored over 20 points in the last 3 weeks. Yeah, 4 weeks. 5. I'm sorry. They haven't put up over 20... Oh, wait. Never mind. The past 3 weeks. Haven't put up over 20.
They're a bad football team. That's just the way to put it, unfortunately. They're a bad football team. We move on, though. Jacksonville and Detroit this week. This is going to be a good game for the Jaguars. I know a lot of people are going to write them off. They're 2-7. They're not a good football team. They're 2-8 with the number 1 overall pick in the draft again. I know people are going to write them off. I think they're a very good team, guys. Let's not get too ahead of ourselves here. I think there's a lot of talent on this roster. I think they're in a very similar situation with the Giants outside of quarterback, where you got a bunch of talent and, things just aren't going your way, whether it's, offensively, defensively, I think this team's more talented than the Giants. But I think there's a lot of things, right? From, bad coaching on some decisions to, whatever it is, from week to week, it's dysfunction, right? The teams at the bottom of the league are dysfunctional, and this is another Jacksonville team that's dysfunctional. I'm going to take the Lions this week. I'm not going to lock them, but I think they win pretty handily.
I also will not lock them. I do want to comment one thing. You said Jacksonville is a very good team. I would disagree. I think they're not a bad team, although they have the number 1 pick in the draft. They're just not a great team. They're an okay team.
Sorry, go continue. Sorry.
they're in there with, Vegas and New England and how the Saints have played this year. I think they're better than the Browns.
Okay.
But it's the bottom 10 teams. They're in the mix of wherever you want to put them in bottom 10. They're
no 100. You're 100% right, Ezra. They are not. Sorry, they're not a very good football team, right? That's what I. They're not a good. They're not a bottom of the league team. They're not one of these Patriots or the Bears or the Giants. In the sense of the fact that I think they've had a harder schedule than a lot of people lead on. But like I said, they got to play the Lions this week. They played Minnesota last week, a team that's much better coach and I think a better roster than them, right? So you're out man there. I think Jacksonville's I think they're better than some of the bottom teams in the league. That's all. We move on here.
I mean, I would agree. Detroit's going to win it. Might not be a 2-score game. The spread's at 14, which is crazy.
That's a spread, 14?
Yep.
That's nuts. I'll take Jacksonville in the points. Miami and Las Vegas this week. I'm gonna take Miami. I think Miami's clicking. I think the Raiders suck. I think they're one of the worst teams in the league. There's not a lot here, talent, coaching, anything wise. They're just better than Miami, all around. I mean, sorry.
Yeah,
Miami's just better than them all around. Game. Sorry.
Miami's gonna win. I mean, Vegas is not good. They haven't shown many good signs.
This is actually my lock.
Oh, I'm going to save my lock for a primetime game, if you know where I'm going with that. But no, I mean, the Dolphins, I don't think they will, but they have the chance to do something incredible where they win out or lose only one and make the playoffs and sneak in. But they've last week looked significantly better. They've put up more points offensively. They look like a functional football team, which you talk a lot about the dysfunction in the bottom group of teams. I think they're graduating to that middle tier of teams that, hey, any given Sunday, you never know.
Yeah, with Tua, they're a playoff team. Without Tua, they're awful. They're one of the worst teams in the league. So that's all it is. All right, we move on here. New England will play LA this week. I'm gonna take the Rams this week. I think the Rams are just
as well.
What?
I'm taking the Rams as well. Tough loss last week to the Dolphins. Their offense
just cut me off.
Couldn't really get it going. 15 points. I mean, you got to score more than 15 to win, especially if your defense is not that good.
Yeah, their defense is really young, right? They'll have the defensive player of the year, though, and Jared Verse, who's had an incredible year so far. But this Lions team is this Rams team is just not there talented enough to win those games against Miami, right? But they're definitely good enough to beat New England this week. New England is not one of those teams that are very very explosive. They're going to stop you here and there up against the Rams because I think their defense is not awful, but they're a solid defense, right? So the Patriots just aren't very dynamic, and I think this Rams defense is going to do a pretty good job this week holding them in check. All right, we move on after Ezra cut me off. Thank you, Ezra. I appreciate that very much. No, I'm kidding. You're good, Ez. Saints and Browns this week. I'm going to take the Browns over the Saints this week. Listen, I know that the Saints, they're all fired up. They got a new head coach. I'm going to take the Browns. I think they're pretty sure they were off a bye last week. I don't think they played. There's a lot more to this. I don't think the Saints are a very good team. I know they beat Atlanta last week. I think they're pretty high off this. And Cleveland's not as bad as also people think. I think Jameis Winston, the two games we've seen, he's played all right in one of them. The other one he didn't play so hot against the Chargers. But I think the Browns are going to do a much better job this week than they did up against the Chargers.
I'm going to take New Orleans. Kind of a bad game. You get two bad teams, but hey, should be a good game. Should be a close game. We'll see what happens. Saints coaching wise, new head coach. Can the Browns bounce back and come off the bye in a positive note? We'll see. I would like to put my hope in the Browns, but the last time I did it, they got blown out and looked like a bunch of fools. So I'll take the one.
All right, we move on here to one of the games of the week, one of the two probably. Pittsburgh and Baltimore this week. I'm going to take Baltimore. I think the Baltimore Ravens are a more talented football team. Right, and I'll take the better quarterback in this game. I think everything else is pretty fairly even. I think actually the Steelers have a slight better defense than the Baltimore Ravens, but I'm going to take Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry to get the job done here up against the Pittsburgh Steelers.
I'm going to use my upset on the Pittsburgh Steelers at home. Hell of a game. I think it's going to be better than Chiefs-Bills. We'll see. Baltimore could run away with it and expose the Steelers, but I got a gut feeling.
I think this is going to be a very good game. I don't think it's going to be a blowout whatsoever, but I do think that the Ravens are just the Steelers came off a tough win last week, right? And I think Baltimore is just they're ready to go. They got extra rest. This team's ready to go. All right, we move on here. Minnesota plays Tennessee this week. Tennessee is still a very bad football team, right? There's not much going on here that's very good whatsoever, to be honest with you. There's not much hope when you're trying to sell some of your guys and get draft picks, and your roster is just not as good as other teams. And that's what I think the case is here. I think Minnesota's just a better roster. Minnesota hasn't played well these past 2 weeks, and I'm looking to see more from Sam Darnold this week to really get this offense going. I'm taking the Vikings.
I will also take the Vikings. I think it could be a trap game for the Vikings, similar to last week, where they just looked bad against the Jaguars and almost blew it in Jacksonville. Another road game. They're in Nashville. Highlight point for the Titans. Calvin Ridley looked really good. That kid has balled out. Do I think it'll continue? Yeah. Are they going to win? No.
Yeah, Calvin Ridley is a really, really nice player, and unfortunately, he's just on the Tennessee Titans, and they kind of stink. So that's the unfortunate part for him. All right, we move on here again. The Colts and the Jets this week. Two bad football teams are playing. Anthony Richardson will start for the rest of the season. Finally, Shane Steichen decision I have liked. I think they should have just at this point just play him, right? Get him the most developed. You're not winning many games with Joe Flacco, especially last week. He didn't look very good at all. There was not much good with it. So play him against the Jets this week. They're probably going to lose. I'm going to take the Jets. Man, I don't even know what the Jets are at this point. As I don't know.
It's really tough because you have a Hall of Fame quarterback in Aaron Rodgers and so much talent offensively. Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson, and Devontae Adams all on one team, and you're 3-7.
Yeah.
Say tough. What you want about the New York Jets. They played like garbage. They looked like garbage last week. I'm hoping they're bouncing back this week. I'm going to take them. I still don't think their problems are fixed, and I don't think they're going to finish out the year strong. They don't have an easy schedule, really. I mean, you got to play Seattle, you got to play Miami twice, and the Bills, and the Rams, which that Rams game might be close.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
We move on here. Denver plays Atlanta this week. Too small. Actually, Atlanta's not very small, but Denver's a pretty small market team. Two teams that I think they're both in the playoff hunt, and I think honestly both have a good chance to make it. But this week I'm going to take the Atlanta Falcons. Listen, I think the Atlanta Falcons are just one of those teams that are really talented, got a lot of pieces, but I think there's a limit to them in all this. I know they lost last week to the Saints, and I think that was a tough loss. Young Huku misses a couple kicks, right? Things just don't go your way, and that happens in football. So I'm going to take the Atlanta Falcons this week, guys.
I'm surprised Denver is favored in the game. I think it'll be a close game, good fight. I do want to take Atlanta. Denver's on a bit of a skid, 2-game losing streak, both tough games. They got blown out by Baltimore and then had to go into Arrowhead. Thankfully, they're home now. Maybe they kind of shine against Atlanta. I just think Atlanta's a much better team than this Broncos team. And I expect Atlanta to get back on track after the tough loss against the Saints, like you said.
All right. So who are you taking this week as? Atlanta?
Atlanta.
Okay. So we wrote down. All right, beautiful. Niners and the Seahawks. Let's rapid fire this one. I don't really care too much about these teams. Even though this is a big matchup. Where are you going?
San Francisco.
Gonna take the Niners. I think this is a good game this week.
In San Fran.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the San Fran 49ers. Christian McCaffrey's back. I don't think they lose this week. We move on here. Let's talk. You know what? Fuck it. Let's save this game for the end. we stepped to Cincinnati and the Chargers this week. As let's rapid fire this one. Who do you got? This is a good one.
I was going to be real quick with this. I'm actually happy that this is the Sunday night game and it's not the Bills Chiefs. You could argue all you want about it. I think this is going to be a great game. You have a 6-3 Charger team that is home in SoFi. Beautiful place to play against the, in my opinion, hottest offense in the league. You watch Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow absolutely ball out back to multiple weeks in a row. They've looked dynamic and spectacular. I mean, the dude is 10 touchdowns in 10 full weeks of play. They are 4-6, which is really tough. But I'll take Cincinnati.
These are completely two opposite teams, right? This is, if you want to talk about two teams that are complete opposites, it's these two teams right here. One of them wants to pass the ball all the time in the Cincinnati Bengals, right? They want to throw it. These Chargers team wants to run it. They're a very well-coached team. I don't think this Bengals are a very well-coached team. The Bengals are really dynamic. The Chargers aren't very dynamic. Like, this are two polar opposite teams. If you were like taking opposites, this would it be. So I'm going to take the Chargers this week. I think their coaching, their quarterback is really good. And I think they're just going to play better situational and smart football this week than the Cincinnati Bengals. Ezra, we're both going to take the Texans over the Cowboys, correct?
Yeah, I'm locking Houston.
Yeah, they're ass. I mean, the Cowboys are really bad at football, so that's all I have to say on that game. Let's move back up here. Talk about the Bills and the Chiefs for about 4 minutes. Give me your take on this game. What do you got?
So I saw the stat, and I can pull it up specifically, but Buffalo's favored by 2. And do you remember the last time Patrick Mahomes was a 2-point underdog?
No.
It's the last time he won a ring, because the Niners were 2-point favorites going into the Super Bowl. It's really tough to pick against the Chiefs, and every bone in my body wants to do it for Bills Mafia to take this one home. I just can't do it. I'm sorry. I'm going to take Kansas City, and I hate to do it.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard not to take KC when they're such on a roll like this, but man, is this Buffalo team good as well? I think they do a really good job in a lot of things, but I think they're going to limit them, right? I think you could play man coverage almost across the board and hopefully double Amari Cooper and kind of take away the Bills on offense, right? Load the box, take away Amari Cooper, and the Bills are really going to struggle, I think, this week, but I'm going to take the Chiefs here. Listen, it's Patrick Mahomes, man. How could you bet against the guy? The guy is 9-0 and hasn't played well at all. And yet he's going into a big game this week. I think everybody knows it. Both these two guys know it. This is one of the games where you look at it and you look up and down the schedule. You're like, all right, which game are we going to go sit down and that one. This is the game everybody's wanted to watch so far. These two teams are 1-3 on my rankings, right? They're some of the best teams in football. I can't wait for this game. I'm going to take the Chiefs. It's hard for me not to take KC. I'm taking KC in the upset this week because they're not favored. That's a little cheat code right there for you kids. It's hard to bet against Patrick Mahomes, man. And this defense is playing really, really well. They're holding teams to under 24 points, and then Mahomes just got to go score 27 for us, Mahomes, right? Go do enough every week to go win us the game. The defense is going to handle the rest, and they do that every single week. They're getting Pacheco back. They're getting healthier every single week, and they've added DeAndre Hopkins. It's going to be hard to beat the Chiefs all throughout the season unless, God forbid, Patrick Mahomes gets an injury. I'm taking the Chiefs. And
Amari Cooper's questionable. He's missed the last 2 games with injury. He was limited in practice.
So he's going to play.
But a wrist injury is something that can be re-aggravated real quick.
100%. A couple hits and he'll be feeling it.
So we'll definitely see what happens in that sense for Amari Cooper. But, yeah, I mean, it sucks to not see them lose. I just don't think this will be the game that they lose.
Yeah.
I don't know when it'll come because last week I almost started celebrating. And then they blocked the game when he should go.
Yep.
Which chip shot.
Yeah, listen, it's going to be tough to beat the Chiefs. Whatever team tries to do it, it's going to be really tough. So, as I really appreciate you for coming on here. A lot of talking between the two of us, especially me. My throat freaking hurts right now from talking so goddamn much. Nobody wants to hear my voice anymore. I don't want to hear my own voice. Appreciate you for coming on, and we will see you guys next time.